All right. I am live and we are here for excuse me, we are here for another Saturday morning coffee. Do some market analysis, prepare for the new week, and we'll let some more people get logged on. For those of you that are, well, for the 5 of you that are here right now, if any of you could confirm that I sound okay, hit that 1. I don't know. Is this the top of my head's cut off here? Let's see if I can. Cannot wait until I get into. There we go. All right. If anybody doesn't mind, could you hit the number 1 if I sound okay? And does it? I don't think it really matters. My head's cut off a little bit. Hey, good morning, Tom. How to see you? Ironically enough, Tom, my coffee is not here. BC, Hoover, Andy, very good, very good. All right, well, if you've ever been to a Saturday morning coffee before, as always, if you know you're going to enjoy, friendly reminder, hit that like button. And that's always will be encouraging and to see if I want to keep this moving into the future. But I think for the most part, they've been relatively popular. But yeah, if you know that you're going to enjoy, if you've been here before, please do indeed hit that like button. And we'll see how long this takes us. Would like to stall for a few more moments to see if anybody else wants to get logged on. But with that being said, this is always viewer driven. So if you have a request for a stock, crypto, futures market, really anything, if you have a question, if you want to just ask about prop firms or really anything, viewer driven. So we will go by kind of what the requests are and so on and so forth. So like I said, if you have a request for something, let me know. Eventually, it'll basically become $5 super chats. Ensure that your request gets done. Newbie in the house. All right, Subtac Off-Road. Welcome. Good to have you. But like I said, eventually we'll reach the point, well, if history plays out, where there may be a little too many requests. So then it'll have to be a $5 super chat. But right now, I mean, there are no requests. So if you got a stock, if you're in a crypto, if you got, you want to take a look at a futures market, like I said, let me know. And, or if you have a question, put that in the chat box and, I can do an analysis of it and we can kind of see what happens. But if there are no requests, well, then this might just be a super short stream because, like I said, this is totally viewer driven. You in the chat, you watching are driving where the flow of things go. Tony, what do you think about the stock VST? It's my biggest holding. Okay, well, let's take a look at VST here. Apparently, I've done this one before from way back here. I assume, Tony, you're asking for more of like an investing standpoint. If it's your biggest holding, when I see the word holding, I'm kind of assuming that you mean like an investment, or are you looking or asking about a specific time frame? Plan on getting deer on the new property. Yeah, we got some last year, Red Tiger. Yes, okay. Well, right now here on VST, and it does resetting TPT account reset subscription date. Does resetting TPT account reset subscription date? Yes, believe so, Annie. I guess I can't say for sure I know that, but yes. So right here, looking at VST, that seems to be more of a kind of key longer-term level. If price can break up through there, nothing until really up around that general area right there. Now, that's not to say that, if the price, breaks through here, that it's going to automatically go straight up to that level. But I could see it, finding some wiggle room, finding some, some momentum to make a move up to that area. So that would be kind of the next almost target area, but one hurdle at a time. Prices first got to prove it can get above that area right there in terms of levels of support. Main levels, I'd say right now, purple line 50-day, simple moving average, pink line 200-day, simple moving average. If the price, and then as I speak about it, kind of just notice this too, which makes that area, I think, all the more important. Let's double check here. Yeah, because so you have this trend line right here. I would say that's a very, very important trend line. Whoops. Very, very important trend line, because if the price were to break down through that trend line, that would also imply that the price is broken down through both those moving averages that I just talked about. So again, no guarantees. Like I said, just because it breaks through here does not mean it's shooting all the way up there. But if it were to break down here, is it guaranteed it's going back down there to retest these lows? No guarantees, but I could see it definitely picking up some downwards pressure if it's not able to hold that trend line. Mainly because not only would the trend line be violated, but also those key moving averages right there. But right now, kind of just to wait and see which way does it ultimately want to go. Does it want to get a push through this area here? So we'll see what happens with it. Again, I will just go up to the top and I work my way down. If you do want to cut in line, that's where $5 super chats also, that's what you're getting for the $5 super chat. I'll do the request and I'll do it right away. If you don't want to do a super chat, totally fine. But I just don't make any promises I'll ever get to it, or I may not get to it until it's like 20 minutes after you request it, because I'm going up to the top of the chat box and working down. So that's kind of how it plays out here. Just but like I said, if you're in no rush and you plan on just hanging out, then yeah, I think I'll eventually get to it. Again, I'm not claiming I will, no promises, but $5 super chat, I will get to it and I'll do it immediately. Is that how it works, Hoover? Okay. If you cancel and buy a new subscription, your date changes. Yeah. No, yeah. Okay. Does resetting? Oh, resetting. Yeah. Like Annie Reedwood Hoover Flag Trader said. Yeah, if you cancel and just get like a new account, then your new date starts from whenever that purchase actually is. All right, let's see. I love it, though. Some people are already talking about the prop firm space. We love prop firms here. We're a big believer in Pam's plant. But today could be a day of, if people are talking about things from a swing trading standpoint or investing standpoint, then yeah, I don't mind stocks. But yeah, day trading stocks, no good. Day trading options, no good. Day trading Forex, no good. Day trading crypto, no good. But like in this situation, VST, sure, we're looking at a stock, but as Tony said, this is more of an investment type thing. So that's much different than now. If Tony said, no, this is VST from a day trading standpoint, me and Tony would have to have a talk. I'd be like, hey, man, there's a better way. But he was asking about things from, will Google pick up? Well, let's take a look at Google. I know Google had a rough, what was that, Thursday or Wednesday? I can't remember. All right, so just starting here. Well, right here from a technical standpoint, things not necessarily looking so good, as that trend line here has been broken. So that was a nice little support trend line here until, I guess that was Wednesday when the price came down. Now to give credit, sure the price broke down through that area, but at least the following days did not just get more and more momentum. As of now, the price has at least established itself. Now that doesn't mean for sure guaranteed it's not going to keep going down. All I'm saying is that was a brutal day there, and to see it seemingly not get immediate more continuation on the downside, seems that maybe the panic, maybe everything is kind of subsiding, and maybe the bears are kind of done. Everybody that wanted to panic out and sell, they are now gone. But that's a situation where you gotta be careful, but I would say this sideways movement in and of itself is a nice little sign. Sorry, I'm trying to read the chat and analyze at the same time. Again, if you're enjoying, make sure you hit that like button if you've been here before. If you've never been here before, it's great to have you. Welcome. This is a viewer-driven segment, so I go wherever your questions, wherever your requests take me. So you can request a stock, a future, a Forex pairing, whatever you want. I'll take a look at the chart if you have a question, if you want to talk prop firm strategy or anything like that. But the Saturday morning streams are driven by you, the viewer. So let me know in the chat box. No need to do super chat, but super chats, $5 super chats, I'll do your analysis right away. Take your request, take your question immediately. That way you don't have to sit around and wait if you don't have a whole lot of time. But if you got time, then yeah, no need to do a super chat. I'll do my best to get to it, although I still don't make any promises in that regard. My only promises are in regards to the super chats. Let's take a look here at the 30 minute. Yeah, so 30 minute, I would say this is a pretty important level here. Just because you really don't want to see Google going quote unquote back to where it was. And what is the back to where it was point? Well, that 153 mark, because if the price comes down here and at least bottoms out and curls upwards, at that point you could make the argument that, well, you have a set of lows here, you have a set of lows right there, you envision those as stair steps, and now you have stair steps making progress in the upward direction. So you could at least make that argument. But on the flip side of things, if the price comes down here and then just drops down below, now all of a sudden what do you have? Well, you have quite literally the price having gone right back to where it was. And I mean, not to insult anybody's intelligence here, but when you have price movements that make a nice little bounce and then go right back to where they were, not exactly a sign of a truly strong bounce. So that is why in my mind, that 153 mark, very, very important area of support next week. So there's Google. Let's see. VS, or no. MBT. Okay, we'll take a look at MBT. You did say slash MBT. Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. What am I? What even is this? MBT. Oh. Oh, okay. It's the micro for Bitcoin. Okay, futures. Okay, gotcha. All right, somebody trading some futures Bitcoin. Hey, good morning, Emmy. And looking to hold through expiration. Alrighty, well, right now, hopefully you got in somewhere down around here. Or I guess here would have still been fine. But yeah, right now, I know Bitcoin's been doing. In fact, let's just look at Bitcoin real quick. How is Bitcoin doing right now as I speak? Still heading up nicely here. At some point, I drew this rising wedge, and the rising wedge did play out, although to the bulls' credit, not a whole lot of push down, not a whole lot of continuation. So there was the rising wedge I talked about. You can see that, which is a bearish pattern, by the way. So there was a breakdown. There was a bit of a pullback here. But again, to give credit's due, the bulls stepped in relatively quickly and said, that's enough. And back up we go. Hey, good morning, Kevin. But all right. But that's Bitcoin. Just looking at that out of curiosity. And you asked about MBT. So let's look at the hourly. So hourly right now has basically this nice little, change that to green for support. Has what I would call an overall little bull pennant here. Resistance, support, nice move up. Put the golf hole down here for you golfers so you can visualize it better. So bull pennant pattern here. So yeah, right now really just a question of can the price, get the breakout through that level right there, and if it does, will it revisit those highs? If not, even go higher than that. So that's what's looking like on the hourly. Yeah, nice strong upsloping 50 period moving average. Hard to complain about that. Always a good thing. Anything else on the 30 minute? 30 minute, not really a whole lot of new things, but it is doing a good job of respecting that purple line there. Again, the 50 period moving average. Nice, great bounce off the 200 period down there. So if there is some sort of bigger pullback, then yeah, I think it's worth at least keeping an eye on that level and, at least wondering, hey, could this provide another bounce like it did back here? But clearly right now, the price is not anywhere close to that level. But yeah, MBT right now, looking good, looking good. Yeah, just huge breakout right there. Dumpster fire stock I bought. Yeah, sometimes those dumpster fires can pay really well. Other times, well, it's a dumpster fire. MBT long term does okay. Can you analyze ZKIN again? For those of you that are getting logged on, this is I'll take your request. ZKIN. take questions. So this is a viewer-driven episode or a viewer-driven stream, whatever you want to call it. So it could be a stock, could be a crypto, could be a currency pairing. And I'll do an analysis on it. If you have questions about things, I'll do my best to answer those. And $5 super chats put you right to the front of the line, but not required. So the big thing immediately that stands out on ZKIN is the opening. Well, the day was pretty crazy. Big gap up, pulled all the way back here, but I mean, just beautiful. You just can't make. Look at the two brothers doing work. So the day before, it was a younger brother, the 50-day simple moving average, that purple line right there where the price bounced from. And then on Friday, it was the older brother, the 200-day simple moving average right there doing work. So charts are not perfect, but do I believe that charts have a valid place within a trader's strategy and analysis and all that? Yeah, absolutely. So right there. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway just from the daily chart. So a classic example here, this former area of resistance, which was the 200 period, now acting as support. So very good. So yeah, 310 remains a very important level moving forward from the daily. All right, let's drop down to the 30-minute. 30-minute here, nice bull pennant pattern. So let's get this drawn into play. So right about $4.20, key level of resistance. And then, just so you can see the pattern, we have our resistance. We have our support. Nice upwards move there. Golf hole down here. So here is the bull pennant pattern. So yeah, headed into not necessarily Monday, but I'd say early next week. Really just a question of can this thing consolidate out and then get a move to the upside. So that'll be the main thing. Technical now, yes, I agree. For day trading and oftentimes swing trading, I would say it's king for sure. If you're doing some investing, I think other things probably start to matter in that regard. But yeah, charting, technical analysis can still be very helpful. I don't disagree with that at all. All right, so there is ZKIN. Again, if you have a request, throw it up in the chat. And if you are enjoying, make sure you hit that like button. Oh, that's great. We're already at 24. So yeah, if you are enjoying and you have not yet hit the like, I'm always looking for feedback. So that's a very easy way to give me feedback if you are enjoying. Let's see. ZKIN long-term. Michael, IT Services, FMST. All right, let's look at FMST. All right. So I'd say the main key battleground here. Yeah, right there at about $1.26. Looking back at the history of things here, you can see rejected the price a couple more times, and then you fast forward to earlier on last week. Never hit it exactly, but essentially, for argument's sake, rejected the price. So $1.26 is, as far as I can tell, a key level of resistance. How much do you average? Enough to make it worth my time. OJ Simpson. OJ Simpson. Wow. Yes. Enough to make it worth my time. So yes, 126 will be that main battleground there from a resistance standpoint. I'd say a very important level of support would be that purple line there, 50-day simple moving average, for the reason that I already discussed earlier. But if the price were to come down there and bounce off it, well, at least at that point, you could still make the argument, well, hey, it's got a low here, it's got a low here. That low's higher than that one. Therefore, we have some stair steps progressing in the upwards direction, which from a bigger picture standpoint and an overall bullish standpoint, that's what it's all about. You want to see progress being made. And how do you define quote-unquote progress? Well, in this situation, I'll define that progress point as right there at 78.5 cents. But let's come down now to the 30-minute, see if we can learn anything new. Not a whole lot of volume on this one. So I'll assume, I'll hope this person is asking for more of a longer-term perspective. Hopefully not the perspective of somebody that bought on this day right here during this massive volume. Somewhere up around here and has been holding and hoping ever since. I hope that's not the case. Yeah. So interesting little kind of pattern here, which I think it broke. Yeah. All right. So that's interesting. So we had this multi-day little wedge, symmetrical triangle, whatever you want to call it, and the final 30 minutes on Friday, you can see actually got the breakout. So that's an interesting now dynamic headed into next week. Is this breakout the start of something even bigger? So we'll have to see. Obviously, nobody knows if it's the start of anything bigger, but it has at least begun. Didn't buy, still new, wanted perspective. Gotcha. Well, still new to just stocks in general, or what, Michael? And what kind of trading are you wanting to be doing? Are you wanting to be day trading, swing trading, or investing? And I just say, if you're looking at this from some sort of like day trading standpoint, there's better ways. There's better ways in the category of day trading. But like I said, I don't know what category you're necessarily in. Yes, new trader, day trading. Okay, well, yeah, no, then run far away. Run far away. Well, let me ask you this, Michael, and it'll be a personal question, but it's relevant. Do you have $25,000 that you'll be able to put into a trading account? All right. As we wait for Michael to reply, let's see what else. All right, FMST, IBT, ASBP. Oh, yeah. It kept on dropping, huh? No. All right. Well, Michael, if you do not have $25,000, then you will not be able to be a day trader in stocks because there's something called the pattern day trading rule, which states that unless you have $25,000, you're not able to day trade as much as you want. You can only make 3 day trades every 5 days. What is a day trade? Well, when you buy and sell in the same exact day, and you're only allowed to do that 3 times every 5 days. So right there, if your goal is to be a day trader, you can still be a day trader. I'm just telling you that within the world of stocks, it's not going to be possible. So what I would encourage you to do is look into futures. And the reason for that is around here on the live stream, we call it Pam's Plant. But Pam's Plant, let me just bring that up real quick. And the very first kind of point is it's an argument to day trade futures through a prop firm because a prop firm offers a ton of benefits and value. But right here, to start things off, when it comes to the pattern day trading rule for futures, there is none. So if you want to be a day trader and you want to be able to buy and sell the same thing multiple times every single day, then again, not going to be possible in stocks or options because you're under the $25,000 mark. But with futures, you can do that. And then with a prop firm, because there's very low capital required, I don't know how much money you do have, but I will just say this, that if you have, on the slow on things, if you have $105, then you could get started on a prop firm journey. $105 gives you $25,000 purchasing power, and then you can have a whole lot of upside. So that's just one of the benefits of the prop firm, and you have insulated risk because as a new trader, you're going to do some dumb things, but with the added risk control, specifically you having very, very, very little of your own money on the line, it's a good environment to kind of work out the kinks and all that. So I would highly, highly encourage you to take that pathway, especially if you want to be a day trader, because it's an oxymoron. You cannot be a day trader of stocks if you're under 25,000, because you can't be a day trader if you're only allowed to make 3 day trades every 5 days. That's just pure craziness. So yeah, I'd encourage you to check that out. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? You are scalping? What time? Do you market? I don't know what you mean, Mark. I don't know what you mean by mark struct. Yes, I'm a day trader. Use multiple time frames. Again, I am taking requests. So if you have a stock you'd like me to look at, futures, forex pairing, a crypto. If you just have a question in general. If you want to have a question about prop firms or prop firm strategy or futures or whatever, because if you're not aware, on this channel, we're big advocates of day trading because usually today we'll do whatever. If you want to look at something from an investing standpoint or from a swing trading standpoint, that's fine. But mainly this is a day trading channel. and day trading futures through a prop firm, because that's what is known as Pam's Plant, and that's the best way to go about it. So if you have any questions on Pam's Plant or any of that, you can ask that. But like I said, I just start at the top and I work my way down the chat box. So if you want to cut in front of line and have your request or question or whatever answered immediately, then $5 super chats will make that happen. But again, yeah, and if you want to get the discount, so right now the prop firm that I would use and recommend is what's at the top of the page there. But if you use code Clay, then yeah, you'll get the 30% off, and then there's also $0 activation fee. So literally, your all-in cost, your all-in risk through the journey would be 105. And what do I mean by journey? Well, the journey starts off, you got to be able to show that you can trade. So you got to be able to pass the test, and then once you pass the test, they put you into a pro account. And once you're in the pro account, when you start to make money, you get to keep that money. But like I said, the nice thing about it is your insulated risk, your all-in risk is $105, because if you fail the test, if you lose the account, and the most probable way you'll lose the account is if you lose more than they want you to, and that's $1,500. So if you lose $1,500, that doesn't mean you've lost $1,500 out of your pocket. It just means you've lost the account, which you can buy back again for $100. But if you do lose the account, like I said, yes, it'll take you $1,500 to lose it, and for them to take it away from you. But you actually only lost out of your own pocket $105. So that's just kind of, especially for somebody like you that's a beginner just getting started, I think that's a very good environment to be learning in. And real quick, please don't repeat and spam questions. As I've said, if your question is that important and you want me to get to it, well, then a $5 super chat. But spamming the same question over and over again, like I said, I'm starting at the top and I'm working my way down. So just as a friendly reminder, I don't want you spamming a question is probably going to make me not do it, because now I'm thinking, okay, this person does. It's important enough to spam, but they're not going to do a super chat. So I don't know what's going on. So just keep that in mind. Spamming the question is, if anything, going to get the question ignored. Especially if I know you've been here to hear the $5 super chat thing. Again, no need to do a super chat. I'm just saying, if like a question or an analysis is like that important where you want it done for sure and you want it done right now, that's what the super chat gets you. But if you're like, no, I'm hanging out, I can wait, then cool. No need to do a super chat at all. All right. What's your thoughts on a long-term play with SCHD? Oh, I like SCHD. I own this in my longer term. Pretty boring. Nothing too fancy about it, but yeah. So I mean, I own this in long term, but I really could care less what's happening out the chart. But somebody's asking about it. Well, I don't even know if they're. Good morning, Clay. What's your thought on a longer term play with? Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all from a technical standpoint. That's kind of what I'm looking at right there. Again, I don't care if it breaks out or not, but in fact, I almost hope it stays a little cheap so I can get a higher dividend on it. But yeah, if the price can't come up here, break through there. From a breakout standpoint, I want to get too excited, because not that far away is the 50-day simple moving average, which could very realistically reject the price back down. And then even if it breaks through there, you kind of got the bigger brother, the 200-day simple moving average to deal with. But all in all, just from a longer term play, now I don't know how you're defining longer term play. But for me personally, within my investing accounts, I own SCHD, and I like it. What can you do? Shrug your shoulders and make better. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's all you can do. Are there any signs, things to look for, or anything to indicate a probability of? I mean, that's a very good question, a very in-depth question, and kind of outside of the scope of this. So for anybody kind of that looked at that question was like, oh man, that's good. That's really good. And that's true. It is very good. I'll just throw this out there. That is kind of where the more in-depth program I offer comes into play. So you can take what you want with that link and do what you want with it. But I do offer that for anybody that might be interested in more kind of those in-depth questions. Again, great question. Are there any signs, things to look for, or anything to indicate a probability of a fake breakout, reversals? Yeah. Very good question, but nothing that can really be answered here without having to put a lot of other pieces in place first. So nothing in trading is really hard per se, understanding-wise. Trading is hard, but I'm just saying when it comes to stuff like that, it's not like anything individually is complicated, but there's usually several parts that need to be understood. Each part is relatively straightforward, but first you got to start off understanding the parts, and then you've got to understand how to put the parts together, and then you have a much better idea. So that's why I say it's a little outside of the scope because, we don't have time to, not to mention, just to also be frank, I mean, there's people that have paid for the organized, structured education. So I want to be fair to them as opposed to, just give everything away for free that they just paid for. But again, it wouldn't be time effective anyways because there's several parts that go into it. Each individual part, pretty straightforward, but it's the organizing, the structure of the parts where things get, you gotta, spend some time on things. I usually swing trade. Okay, so for the 4 hours, yeah. If you swing trade the 4 hour, I can see that making sense. You're also not restricted to just normal hours of market as futures can be. Yeah, exactly. Another good reason for the futures trading, especially if you have a full-time job. Well, I can't day trade because I have a full-time job. Totally understand. But with futures, they are open basically, right here around the clock. So good point there, Red Tiger. That is another point. Now, they are closed right now because they're closed on Saturdays. They'll open back up Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. But for argument's sake, during the week, they're open 23 hours a day. So good point there. Always worth pointing out. Tesla told workers on the Y and the CT to stay home for the week of Memorial Day. Guess things. Oh, I hadn't heard that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say that's more of a fundamental event. I just follow the charts. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I would agree that's not necessarily sounding the greatest if you're just telling people to stay home for the week. And that's really crazy. Can somebody confirm trader forever? Not that I don't believe you, but hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. Like, I don't know you. Like, so are you just, and there, for people that are not aware, the internet is kind of filled with some trolls that sometimes just say stuff. Again, I'm not saying you're a troll. All I'm saying is hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. But if somebody confirm that Tesla told people to stay home for the week, that's rough. If you tell your factory workers to stay home for, I thought it was at first just for the day, but then I reread it and said, no, home for the week. What is the best hours to trade? Well, OJ, context is king. What are you talking about? Are you talking about Forex? If Forex, well, what pairing? Are you talking about futures? Or are you talking about stocks? Or we need more context here. Need more context. Jimmy Wynn, love your channel. I started 2 years ago and watched you when I started. Keep up the... Hey, thank you, Jimmy Wynn. I appreciate that. Glad to have helped. Trading is mostly psychological. That is true. How does 25K get you around the PDT rule? Because it's just an arbitrary amount that the United States government came up with. I guess if you have 25,000, the government assumes that you know what you're doing in life. I don't know. As far as I can tell, it's just an arbitrary number that they... To be fair, maybe there was some sort of mathematical formula that spit that number out. But to my knowledge, it was just an arbitrary number that is just there. But even if you do have more than $25,000, you still don't want to day trade stocks or day trade options anyways. It's a waste of capital. It's an inefficient use of capital, and you're taking on way too much risk than you actually need to anyways. From Bazinga article 9 hours ago. All right. Well, yeah, that I agree. Stock or options is risk. Now, what I'm saying is if you are in the category of day trading, my argument, my claim is that day trading stocks, options, Forex, or crypto is a waste of time because it's an inefficient use of capital and you are taking on way more risk than you actually need to. And you're also trading an asset that does not move nearly as good as futures do. So futures just move better anyways. A lot of people are like, well, I got to trade small caps, or I got to trade penny stocks, or I got to trade, altcoins because I don't have a lot of money. But I can try to grow that money because these things can explode. I assure you, futures move better than anything else you're thinking of, especially if you decide to increase size, which doesn't mean you need more money. But if you want to, if you're looking for movement and volatility, I'm telling you, futures, you can do that in futures. Now, of course, this is where risk management comes into play, because as fast as they can move with you, they can move against you. But that's also true for small caps and low floats and all that sort of stuff anyways. But that's where the downside protection comes into play, because you have very little money at risk with the way a prop firm is structured. Correct, Detox. Yeah, with prop firms, the risk reward, you just can't beat it. And that's, yeah, mathematically provable. Fully agree there. Okay, I thought there was a magic reason, but arbitrary makes sense. And to be fair, AB Lopez, maybe there is some sort of, like I said, in-depth study of median household income. I don't know. But even if that were true, you would think that number would need to be fluctuating, because median household incomes back in the 90s when it was implemented, you would think are different now. So, yes, but I think it was just, and really, I guess when I think about it, it shows that it's arbitrary, because the fact it's still 25,000 and has always been and is not ever adjusted for like inflation or anything like that shows that they literally just threw a number out there and they're like, okay, it is what it is. What is your opinion on large dividend yield max stock like NVDY? I mean, I don't have any problem with them. I would not make those a huge portion of your portfolio. But yeah, if you're like, yeah, I have a small little slice, I wouldn't call you crazy. If you're like, if you're saying those are like 70% of your portfolio, me personally, I'd be like, that'd have me kind of sweating some bullets. But yeah, I don't have anything against them, assuming that it's not like a massive quantity. Hey, if you are enjoying, I've learned, I think 2 Saturdays ago, I ran an experiment. I'm like, I'm not even going to ask for likes. And it was there is not barely any likes. Then the next Saturday, I just asked. And it's so, I mean, several of you are like, oh yeah, I've always loved this stream. But man, thank you for saying that, because I forgot to hit the like button. So yes, if you are enjoying, please, friendly reminder, hit that like button. I'd love to at least drive this thing up over 50. That'd be a good step to, maybe we can even get to 100 today, which would be a new record for a Saturday stream. But yes, if you are enjoying and you have just forgotten to hit the like button, please do that. Feels like trading is kind of like math. It's intimidating and confusing until you get an understanding of the rules. I generally speaking, I fully agree. But what also makes trading hard is the rules are going to be different for everybody, because there's broad rules, but when you fine tune, those rules are going to be different, because we're all different creatures of risk tolerance. So for example, if somebody was like, hey Clay, or somebody just asking in general, how do I have fun? You could ask one person and they're like, all right, here's how you have fun. You go skydiving. Somebody else could be like, here's how you have fun. You find a good book, you curl up by the fire, and you read that book. Now, are either one of those people wrong? No. What has caused those people to give different answers, though? Well, clearly one person is more risky than the other person is. Nothing wrong with that inherently, but it just illustrates that personal risk tolerance, and this is why there's no one-size-fits-all strategy. Anybody that's selling you a strategy, a system, they're being deception. Because again, I'm not saying that whatever they're selling does not work for them. That's not my claim. My claim is you are not them. So for them to portray like, hey, just follow exactly what I do, that's disingenuous, because again, you're not them, they're not you. Well, you sell a course. I do sell a course, but my premise is I can teach you the tools, but you'll still have a lot of work to do, because you got to figure out what's going to be best for you. Now, I can help you with figuring out that stuff out. I can chime in. I can mentor you with that. But like, if you show up thinking that I'm going to just give you a magic system, then no. So yes, that is why it is. And to be fair to you, you did say kind of like, you didn't say exactly. But yeah, there's you got to understand rules. But then when you get down to the weeds, the rules start to, be a case by case basis. But yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. Gambling is legal. Is it Benzingar? Stocks options risk. Again, I'm just starting at the top and working my way down. Clay, is that only for futures? I'm not sure what. David, can you define what that is? You say, is that only for futures? I'm not quite sure. Can you define the term that, please? You don't know if you don't ask? Yeah, 100% agree with that. What is your opinion on Bitcoin? It has given a great move to the upside and is now forming a bullish flagpole pattern Would a short entry be possible at 106 if it had taken multiple? Oh, there's Nathan, but Nathan changed his name. Can you just change your name back to Nathan? Please, please. That would make my life so much better. How long have I used Take Profit Trader? Since November, when I moved into the world of futures and futures with a prop firm. They're the only prop firm I've used, and I hope to keep it that way. I mean, I know I take that back. I'm not opposed to expanding, but yes, they're the only one I've used. I just think they're the best because of their payment policy. When you can request money whenever you want it and in whatever amount you want it, that's a good thing. Do I trade Sunday? No. I've glanced at the markets because, again, the futures market opens Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. But no, not normally. I tried to change it just now, but had to wait 14 days. By the time now I'm gonna get used to big. No, I just you gotta stick with that, Nathan. Like I just knew you as Nathan. That was good stuff. Oh, David, are you not here anymore? Okay, what do I think about Bitcoin? Let's pull up Bitcoin. What did you mention? You mentioned something about would a short entry be possible at 106 as it had taken multiple. Well, I don't know. Is it possible, AJ? I don't know your strategy. I don't know your goals. I don't know your risk tolerance. So, yes, it's possible. Is it possible for you? I don't know. Is it? I don't know your strategy. Like I said, I don't know. So yes, to answer your question, it is possible. But to drill down a little bit deeper, is it possible for you? Would it make sense for you? Is it wise for you to do? No. It is possible to cross a busy street with a blindfold on. That is possible. Is it something that you should probably do? Probably not. Probably not. My opinion, though. My risk tolerance suggests I should not cross a busier street with a blindfold on. But yeah, Bitcoin as a whole, definitely, moving forward, this would be kind of the golden goose zone right up here around 107. We'll just call it 500. Yes, I realize there's a couple times where the price peaked its head up above, but there are other times where the price did not quite go that high. So just kind of trying to find a middle ground. So it's certainly approaching that, but maybe what would be most ideal is a little bit of a pullback here. That way you could, kind of play this game where like, all right, you got a pullback, you got that move up right here. Now we have ourselves a bull flag or bull, get some sort of bull pennant. But right now, it would make me nervous to be buying right here. It seems to be getting a little top heavy. You might need some sort of pullback. Let's see. Did David ever clarify what that is? Oh, David must be gone. Do you still do long-term investing while Yeah. That's why, Pam's Plant here is the category of day trading. I try to really emphasize day trading because there's three categories. There is day trading, swing trading, and investing. So in the category of day trading, Pam's Plant is an undefeated argument. Not a single soul since I've been preaching this has been able to tell me how this is a bad idea. But in the category of investing, well, yeah, this would not be a good idea because you can't even do it because prop firms are not for investing. They're for day trading. But yeah, in the category of investing, which I am also in the category of, I love stocks. Options are also, you can do some very cool things in the world of options within the investing. You can do covered calls, stuff like that, cash secured puts. But if it comes to day trading and options, train wreck. Literally makes no sense. You are working harder, not smarter. So anybody here that would say, but I make money day trading options. Remember, the claim is not that you can't make money day trading these other things. The claim is you're working inefficiently. You're taking on more risk than you need to. And I will also say this, if you are a profitable options day trader, all I would say is that's fantastic. But can you imagine how much more money do you think you would have made without theta being a thorn in your side? Again, if you are somebody here that's like, no, I consistently make money day trading options. Great. That's very impressive. But my question that you have to ask yourself is how much more money do you think you've made or you would have made without theta? And you know what's great about futures? There's no theta. Sure, there are futures contracts, just like you trade options contracts, but the massive difference to these futures contracts is there's no theta. So that's why I say you are literally working harder, not smarter. You're literally working inefficiently if you're choosing to day trade options when there's the choice to day trade futures. To the tax. No, I'm taxes. This is part of Pam's plan. Tax reporting is easy with a prop firm because all a prop firm is going to do, any money you request from your prop firm that they send to your bank account, they're going to give you a 1099. That's it. So you give your accountant one form, a 1099 from the prop firm. Doesn't get any more straightforward than that. So yes, that is actually, I mean, such a massive thing that's why I was like, I have to include this in the Pam's plan, because that is, when you can just hand your accountant one piece of paper at tax time, I mean, that's almost worth its weight in gold. Thanks for your time this morning. I'll be back. Well, hey, thanks, Ross. I don't recognize the name, but thanks for being here. Yeah, you have a good day too. Enjoyed your event. Clay really opens my... Did you join the program, KX? Are you part of the mentorship now? Do you look at Bitcoin to project risk on and off for the markets? No, I never look at Bitcoin unless somebody's asking me, hey, what do you think of Bitcoin? What chart is that? I'm the True Crusader. Right now this is Bitcoin chart, but to be fair, I don't know if that's when you threw out that question. I'm not sure if that was when it looked like something else. OJ Simpson, just YOLO account. Okay. How long? Yeah. Sup Clay, do you try to align your trades with the higher time frames are showing, or do you just look short? That depends on the strategy that is being used. Do you trade Sunday? I'm just trying to make sure I didn't skip over anybody's. What's your opinion? No. David Durazo. Well, David Durazo, if you are somehow back here again, I'm asking you, you said, Clay, is that only for futures? If you could define, quote unquote, that, I could answer it better. Again, if you have a request for a stock, for a crypto, for futures, for anything, let me know. If you have a question about whatever, if you have a question about prop firms, Pam's plant, prop firm strategy, futures, because I am a futures day trader through a prop firm. That is what we call Pam's plant. So this is all viewer driven. I will go wherever the breeze takes us, but you guys get to create the breeze here. What does your setup look like? Like the hardware, not your trading layout. I'll link you to this. This is who built my computer, who I'm very pleased with. This is not like I get nothing if you sign up for this guide or anything. But this is I think a very helpful guide, and ultimately this is the company that built the current computer that I'm on. So right there will be I think a very helpful guide. If you are asking about and curious about the hardware and all that sort of stuff, Jada, there you go. Check out that link right there. Sign up for the guide, and that is a very useful guide. Again, I don't get anything from you signing up for that guide or anything. Income from prop firm account is still taxed as short-term. It's taxed as a 1099. You get a 1099. So however, again, full disclosure, I'm not a CPA. All I'm saying is you get a 1099 form. So tax reporting is easy. Keyword is there, the tax reporting is easy. But I am not any sort of tax attorney or anything like that. All I'm saying is the reporting is the issue, because the reporting involves giving your accountant one form, that being a 1099. But beyond that, I'm not commenting because that is well above my pay grade. Again, the claim tax reporting is easy. No, that's my gains are pretty similar, Nathan. And my approach has been the approach, but again, I'm way off in, a separate, I'm just a very apples and oranges situation. So that's why I'm not trying to get into my thing, because my what I'm experimenting with is going to be way the exception and not the rule. But no, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Is there a market manipulation on futures? I'm not a big believer in manipulation anyways. I think manipulation, regardless of the market, is irrelevant. So let me just, and this has nothing to do. So Michael, let's say that there is manipulation here. Okay. So we have this area here. This is 100. So again, there's manipulation. I want you to tell me what the manipulation is. Okay, my claim is there is manipulation here. Could you guess what the manipulation is? Same question to anybody else, not necessarily just Michael, but anybody. The claim is yes, there's manipulation. Does anybody have any idea what the manipulation might be? Does anybody see the manipulation? You don't see the manipulation here, Michael? You don't see anything that you'd be like, oh, I see some manipulation there. Again, Mike, regardless, let's just assume that there is manipulation. I'm trying to prove a point here. Within this drawing, if I were to say there is manipulation, does anybody see what the manipulation is? No, see, if somebody were to answer this question, I'm proving a point here. Let's just assume manipulation is true. Manipulation is in all markets. So this could be any market. I claim that there is manipulation occurring. I also claim you can tell what the manipulation is. What would you say is the manipulation here? Somebody, please. Nobody? Nobody can see any manipulation that's occurring here. Okay. Thank you, KX. And you never answered my question, KX. Did you join the mentorship? Thank you, Coach Dan. Thank you. What happens if I were to tell you that there is a magical, mystical group that was like, we're not going to let that price go below 100. We're not going to let that happen. Could you see how the manipulation played out? If there's a magical, mystical, evil organization, whatever you want to call it, a group of market makers, an algorithm, an AI bot, whatever you want to put in there. And let's just say that this thing, this script, this coding was, we don't want the price going below 100. Does anybody see how this was actually reflected? Can everybody now see this? Give me a 1 if you can see this. Yes, Jada, that's the point. My point is this. That's why I love charts, because charts show price action. Do you know the one thing that can't hide from price action, aka charts, is manipulation? Because manipulation, by definition, is doing something to the price. But do you know what is telling us about the price? Technical analysis. Now, if you're just looking at financial statements and cash flow statements, well then sure, that can get a little deceptive. But manipulation is manipulation of what? Of the price. So if a technical chart is all about what the price is doing, then it would therefore expose any manipulation that is occurring. Now, do we know that this is some sort of manipulation? No, we don't know that. Even if it is, do we know who it is, what type? No, we don't know that. But as traders, do we really care? Or as traders, are we just like, hey, look, there's some manipulation going on right now. And this manipulation, it keeps bouncing off 100. So how would you use this manipulation in your favor as an advantage? What do you mean you definitely will, KX? Why haven't you? Why haven't you? So again, next question. There's manipulation taking place. As a trader, how could you use this manipulation in your favor? Does anybody have any ideas? How could you use this manipulation in your favor? How could you use this manipulation to your favor? Hey, Jada. Hey, IA Prescott. Look at you, dirty dogs. John C., Nathan, look at you, dirty dogs. Look at you making the system work for you. Coach Dan, I'm not excited. Coach Dan is from the community. He's like one of my longest. Anyways, Coach Dan knows what he's doing, so I'm not as excited about him getting it because I already know he knew that. But hey, I'm glad he's not losing it. No, not ride the trend. Obadiah, there is a very specific thing that you could be doing. Exactly. Why don't we just buy it 100? So this whole idea, well, there's a couple of just very false premises within this, but this whole talk of manipulation to a technical day trader, irrelevant. You can't hide from the chart. You can't hide from price action. So if that's a manipulation that's going on, well, how can we use that manipulation in our favor? Like a lot of you just said. So, and then the other thing is, okay, if it is, now I don't believe in the whole manipulation thing, but I was just granting this to say, even if we grant the premise that there is manipulation, like, okay, well then it's going to be exposed via the chart. Now, the whole other thing is this. If you are like, no, there is manipulation, then why are you trading? You should not be trading because per your own admission, you don't have control. And I don't know about you, but if somebody told me to cross a busy road, but I don't have any control because it's like manipulated, I would not do that because I want to, from a risk management standpoint, I want to be able to put myself in situations that I can control from a risk management standpoint, right? Because that's all crossing the street is, right? Crossing busy road is like what we're taught as kids is how to manage risk. What are we taught as kids? How to manage risk to make it to the other side? You look both ways, right? That is a risk control strategy. Looking both ways when you cross the street is risk control. But if you were to tell me, yeah, it's all manipulated, so yeah, I'd be like, oh, well, and then I'm just not going to do it. So if you truly do believe that there is manipulation in the markets, you are a moron, logically speaking, for continuing to trade. Why would you trade? Why would you put your money at risk in an environment that you don't have any control of? So it's either you don't actually believe that, you're just using that as an excuse for your bad decisions, or you're just stupid because you do believe it, yet you're still putting yourself in that set of circumstances. So pick your poison. Pick your poison. The consistent person is be like, yep, I'm not touching it. It's all manipulated. So how come people who make money on a stock never cry manipulation? That is a good question. That's a very something that I've noticed also. Man, people making money. I never see anybody crying about manipulation. You lose money though. Oh, they hunted my stop. No, nobody hunted your stop. Nobody. That is the attitude of losers, okay? Nobody is hunting your stops. There is no stop loss mechanism because do you know how many times, and if you're honest with yourself, you've been here too. Stop loss hunting, all that is confirmation bias. Because I've been in many trades where the prices come up and gotten, as close as you can get to hitting my stop, and it never does, and then it just goes in my favor. Why? Why didn't it just take my stop off? What? Could somebody explain how? Again, and ask yourself, have you ever been in a trade where you're like, oh man, I'm totally getting stopped out here? Whoa, okay, I'm still in. Whoa! Well, that is, oh, yep, I'm totally getting stopped out. Maybe not. Okay. And then you fast forward 5 minutes and you're sitting there in the green and it's a great trade. Have you ever been there before? If you're being intellectually honest, you have. But with confirmation bias, your mind's going to forget about those ones and your mind is only going to confirm your bias. So if your bias is people are out there hunting my stop losses, then anytime you get stopped out or anything like that and then it goes in your face, you're like, oh, see, they're just hunting my stop loss. They're just hunting stop losses. No. That's easy to throw out there in hindsight, right? So like right here, if the price were to come down here, if it's comes down here and then breaks, oh yeah, see, they were hunting stop losses. But if the next time it comes down here and just drops, nobody's going to be saying they were hunting stop losses. It's a hindsight confirmation bias thing. So, yeah. So, but again, if you do believe that there's stop loss hunting and therefore there is manipulation, well, then you better not be trading because apparently you're throwing your money in an environment that you have no control over because there's some like big magical mystical forces. The price is being manipulated by. Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I mean, but I do agree. If you want to define manipulation as just what people are doing, buying and selling, then I agree. That is what's pushing the prices, supply and demand. But if you think there's somebody with enough money to go out there to bring a price up to a certain spot, like you have to remember that to move a price, especially in the futures market or these massive markets, you would need to have a ton of capital. So when you put that capital at work, that's good. But what else do you have to do? You have to eventually get rid of that capital because, right, you never make any money until what? Until you sell. I mean, you can buy and buy and buy, and guess what? You could go right now and we could manipulate a penny stock. We could find a penny stock that's got barely any volume, and then all of us could get together and be like, hey, let's all buy $100,000 worth. And man, that thing would skyrocket up. But what is our problem now? We've all bought. What do we now need? Well, we need somebody to buy from us, right? If there's nobody there to buy from you, yeah, have fun trying to get out of your position. So all this thought about, well, it's this algorithm, it's this, and they can cause it to go down to this exact moment, and then they can cause the price to go back up. What are you talking about? How do they make any money? How did somebody using all their capital? So think about this. They used all their capital to bring it down to a level. So that was all their money at work. And then it bounces back up. Wait, what? So they're using all their money to short it and then all their money to bring it back up? So they're causing themselves to lose and win. Like what? Well, no, Clay, they're sparking interest. Okay, let's say they spark. So let's just keep the math easy. Let's say they put, let's say they bought $1 million worth of something in order to spark interest, to create more buying. So they bought $1 million worth and they sparked interest. And they sparked interest in the amount of $800,000. Does anyone see a problem with that math? They're still $200,000 in the hole. They bought $1 million of something, and they've only been able to sell $800,000 of the $1 million that they put into it. So the whole idea of all this, this and this and this, there's so much it's just not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. So if you're on team stop loss hunters, stop, please. The rabbit hole always seems to grow into a black hole. Exactly. Just trade the chart. Trade the chart. The chart, even if, like I said, even if we agree that there's manipulation, the chart's going to show us what that manipulation is. So again, let's just for argument's sake, let's just say there are stop loss hunters. Okay. So we have this area. This is 100. Now I don't believe this to be the case, but let's just assume that it is. Okay, there are stop loss hunters out here. There's a stop loss, magical, mystical algorithm bot, market makers, buddies that are sitting in a cubicle, whatever you want to call it. There is something out there that is stop loss hunting. Yes, they are stop loss hunting. Hopefully you can see it very clearly. They let the price go down below 100. They stop out the longs, whoop, back up. They push the price down here, stop out the longs, whoop, back up. You get the idea. So let's say that is what's happening. There are stop loss hunters. Tell me as a trader, how do you make that manipulation work for you? What are you going to do? If that is the manipulation, if we just concede, yes, there's stop loss hunters. Yes, there's this magical, mystical, evil empire that is stop loss hunting. And, then this is what you're seeing. My question is, how do you take advantage of the stop loss hunting, evil, how do you make this system work for you? Yep, that's one way you could do it. Nathan, agreed. Not what I was thinking, but that would be a viable way. Sure, yep. Again, how could you make this work for you? Not sure what you mean by that, Jeddah. If it were me, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm definitely not going to. So if this were me, and I'm not claiming to be smart about this, I'm just showing, oh, look, there's stop loss hunters out there. The evil empire has shown up. All right, well, because of this, I'm certainly not going to buy there. I'm certainly not going to buy there. And even if I were to buy up here, I'm definitely not putting my stop below this level. But hey, I see what they're doing. The magical, mystical, evil empire is pushing it down below, and then it's going back up. So I'm just going to buy slightly below the 100 mark, and then I'm going to head it back up. Nathan approached it a little bit differently, which is fine. Nathan wanted to wait for a little bit more confirmation. Nathan's saying, no. If the stop loss hunters are here, then they're going to, I'm going to buy right there at 100, but except on this situation on the way back up. There you go. Instead of complaining about stop loss hunting, just take advantage of it. Again, I'm not saying that, as I just ranted and raved about, I'm not saying this exists, but even if I do concede that it exists, well, then use the chart. That's the power of technical charts. You can't hide from manipulating the price when the chart is telling you what the price is doing. So there you go. So please stop talking about how you were a victim of stop loss hunting and this, that, and the other. No, you're not. And even if that stuff existed, you're still not the victim because it's your fault for not realizing and not playing the stop loss hunter game. So there we go. I have no idea how we got on that topic, but it was a good topic. It's one that I like to rant and rave about every now and then. Hey, thank you, Stefano. When did you get your account? I appreciate it. Last night got the very good. Well, thank you very much, sir. And yes, I'll let the kids know as we eat. This one's on Uncle Stefano. Good conversation. All right. Where are we at time-wise? Hey, 56 likes. Not too bad. Go to ARRNF. Buy at 18, sell at 19. All right. What is going on with ARNFF? Oh, I'm sorry. ARRNF. Yeah, I'm going to have to pass on this one. Like, I get it. You can buy anything whenever. But the problem always becomes, are you going to be able to sell? So if I look down here at the 30-minute time frame, look at this thing. Like, how do you sell this? Look at this absolutely pitiful lack of volume. So yeah, I'm going to have to pass on ARRNF. Because as a trader, part of trading is to be able to sell. And this one right here looks like it might be very, very difficult to be able to sell. So I'm going to pass on that one. And if you're buying something at 18 and selling at 19, I'm telling you there's better ways. You don't have to put yourself into something like this to be able to pull profits from the market. There are better ways to go about it. So just an FYI. The only candles with volume are red. That's true, yeah. That one's kind of, but yeah, for the most part, that is true. All right, I'm not seeing any other requests or good discussion right now. So again, if you have a request for a stock, options, crypto, forex, if you have a question about just trading, about prop firm trading, about futures, whatever, let me know. We will take a look here. I'm curious where NQ is at now. All right, well, the NQ, nothing really new to report from the daily time frame compared to what I talked about last week. Still kind of putzing around down below this area here, which I would argue very, very important level. Not only is it this previous high right here. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a clump of resistances there, but definitely right there. But now it's becoming just that much more interesting because not very far above it at all is the pink line there, that 200-day simple moving average. So this could very realistically be a double whammy of resistance. Doesn't mean that the price can't push up through it, but that could be an area where I could see it presenting potentially some problems right there. From a support side of things, ideally, definitely want to continue. Well, I talk about assuming you're bullish, but from that viewpoint, you'd want to see the price stay up above the purple line right there. Let's hop down and take a look on the hourly. Oops. I mean, yeah, 200 period. Proven to be a little bit support there. Right now, hanging up with the purple line. I've made more consistent money in Robinhood trading my own money because I can let the fluctuations go further. I've lost 4 take profit accounts because it gets liquidated. Yeah, okay, so in other words, you can be more undisciplined, IA Prescott, because you can let it go further. In other words, you're with your money, you can hold and hope. And I'll be the first to admit, IA Prescott, that holding and hoping, you'll have a high win rate. I can't push back against that at all. The problem is, when you hold and hope, all it takes is 1, and your 95% win rate, that 5%, win rate gone. So yeah, no, I don't push back against that at all. If you don't use a prop firm, using your own money will allow you to hold and hope, which is what you're doing. I mean, you frame it nicely. I can let the fluctuations go further. Yeah, yes, I understand what you're saying. You can let them go further. In other words, you can hold and hope. And yeah, to be fair, a lot of them will recover and you'll be okay. And you'll have a high win rate. So you can say, I have higher consistency. Yeah, until you have that one where those fluctuations, you keep letting them go further. And yeah, then they just keep going and down and down and down. So but that's part of Pam's plan. Pam's plan is not going to allow you to play those foolish games. They're going to add in the risk control via the rules that they put. So Ira Prescott doesn't really like the rules because they're not allowing him to hold and hope. But I'm here to tell you, as any veteran trader will tell you, holding and hoping can indeed produce a high win rate strategy. Problem is, in those few instances of your, because I mean, no strategy is 100%. But if you're at 98% win rate and you're doing, the hold and hope, well, yeah, those 2%, see ya, bye. Where if, more fluctuation, and before you know it, those 2% has wiped out all your gains or the vast majority of your gains and all that. So, I can't push back against that, but that is also, like I said, that's one of the things that I deem as a benefit. Those rules are there to get you to not do and not build bad habits, which is what holding and hoping is. Yeah, you keep on doing that. Keep on doing that. Been there, done that. And I understand I'm not going to make any headway with you because right now you're sitting there thinking, what are you talking about? But I'm being very consistent. I'm actually making money now all of a sudden. I'm doing this and this and this. I know. I believe you. I'm just telling you. One of those is going to show up and bite you big when you can give it more fluctuation. Trump said, good time to buy stocks in press conference on Friday afternoon. Uh-oh. Must be a tweet coming. Sure, I have 6 funded Bullnex accounts. I keep failing, take profit. I will try again next week. I guess I don't know, Shirai. It's hard to say why you keep failing without knowing more details. I'm gonna try again Monday. Yeah, I would say just be for sure go be on the MNQs, and you got to just be that much more aware of where your risk is at. So what's the right way to do it then? Force yourself to build good. Well, let me tell you, the right way to do it is not to hold and hope, which is what you're doing. That is for sure not the right way to do it. Now, I will agree. When you don't hold and hope, you are going to have more losses because that means you're actually trying to manage risk. You're accepting losses. You're cutting losses. So there's no doubt about it. Win rates will come down if you stop holding and hoping. But that's where things are deceptive because you're like, yeah, I'm at a 60% win rate. And somebody else could be like, what? I'm at a 99%. But the 60% win rate person is actually consistently profitable. Well, how is that possible if the other person is doing 99%? Well, because the 60% win rate person is actually not holding and hoping. They're cutting losses. They're taking those losses. They're managing risk. So, I mean, what's the right way to do it? Well, the step one in the right way to do it is to not hold and hope. Because hold and hope is fool's gold. Absolute fool's gold. Is prop firms only for futures? Yes, but that is what. Are you scared, David? Like, well, if it's only for futures, I don't know if I want to do it because then I have to learn futures. Is that kind of your fear, David Durazo? Because a lot of people, to be fair, are like, the futures thing sounds amazing. I like Pam's plan, but I really don't feel like learning how to trade futures. That's a very faulty premise. So if anybody is feeling like that, I guess give me a number 3 in the chat box, and I'll explain why that's a faulty premise in your mind. Again, I really like what I'm hearing here. I do see all the big benefits and how it makes sense to day trade futures in a prop firm, but I really don't want to learn how to trade futures. If anybody's feeling like that, like I said, I'll explain. There's all right, Shirai. Well, it sounds like good. It sounds like some self-reflection. You kind of answered your question. You need to close when it's green. It sounds like maybe you're getting a little greedy. It sounds like you're maybe wanting, I want more. Try so. Sounds like, yeah, you got a little. So I'm glad that you don't hold in hope. I need to close account one. Yeah, so maybe that would be the problem. Yes, all right. So to Michael and David, my question is this. With whatever you're trading right now, do you use charts? Do you use charts with whatever you are trading right now? No, do not go down the pathway. Just go with Take Profit Trader, unless you want to get absolutely overwhelmed. Take Profit Trader is very, very good for beginners because it's very straightforward, clean set of rules. But if you want to go that pathway, Michael, that's fine, but you're going to get totally overwhelmed. And then you're not going to do it because you're like, this is too crazy. There's too many rules. What's the difference here? Wait, what's that mean? It's just like, okay, you're going to get totally overwhelmed. Okay. Michael trades with charts already. What about you, David? With whatever you're trading right now, are you using charts in your decision-making process? That is my question. Your win rate is irrelevant when your small loss percentage takes your account to 0. Exactly, Nathan, exactly. Sometimes getting kicked in the face, but that's the whole power of prop firms. That's a good question. I'm gonna address that because that's a more than fair critique. Because yeah, with Trump and his tweets and all this sort of stuff, yeah, it can get very crazy. Okay. So David and Michael and anybody else that's like, I really like all the stuff about day trading futures and prop firms, but like, I don't want to have to learn how to trade futures. If you trade with charts, so Michael and David, what's one of your favorite technical patterns? If you use charts, or like just what's one of your favorite setups in the world of charts, which you use for your decisions? What's one of your favorite setups? And same question, anybody else that is maybe listening in? But Sam, I'm going to get to your question here. Sam asks a very good question, which again is an argument for Pam's plant. This one I don't like the delay. I wish we could somehow make this real time or like very, very little delay. Okay, Michael likes a VWAP. No, that's cool. That's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking for anything within technical. Okay, so you're getting used to, you're enjoying the VWAP, and I'm there with you. I like the VWAP too. Where's David at? Come on, David. Come on, man. If anybody else wants to chime in too, that you fall in you're in the category of Michael or David here. Again, I like what I'm hearing. This makes sense, but I don't want to have to learn futures. Okay, good. All right, David likes support and resistance. So I have great news. The VWAP and support and resistances exist in the world of futures, and they're very relevant within the world of futures. So now you can do those same things that you were doing with the VWAP and the support and resistance. Those things will translate into futures. So right there, you're 97% of the way there to now being able to day trade futures. Because if you already use a chart, you know a chart. The only major difference for you is instead of using charts to day trade stocks, for example, you're now using charts to day trade futures. But there's one little thing here that let me no. So here's the other thing that you would need to learn. So let me finish up the other 3%. Let's just go to the MNQ here. Yeah, Denmark, I'm deleting your messages because Denmark is basically just a troll. I don't even know he's a real person at this point. Okay. Okay. So right here, so I've made the claim 97%. You already know about how to trade futures. So from here to here, this is the last bit you'll need to know. Look at this distance right here. We have 20, 80 up to 20,100. Not to insult your intelligence with math, but that's a difference of 20. 20 what? Well, in the world of futures, things move in points. So this difference here is 20 points. Now, what I would recommend both you start with is the MNQ, okay? And then you can eventually move to just the NQ, which is the NASDAQ. But start with the MNQ. So the question becomes, well, what is 1 point worth within the MNQ? So 1 point is $2, okay? So here's my question to really anybody, but so this distance here, how much is that worth per contract? So if 1 point is worth $2 and this little distance here represents 20 points, what is that worth? Question for Michael and David and anybody else that is maybe intimidated by futures. What is that worth? 1 point is worth $2 and that little distance there is 20 points. So Michael and David and anybody else, what is that distance worth? Again, per contract. Okay. We'll wait for David to chime in. David, 1 point is worth $2. This distance here was 20 points. I think you might have had a typo, David. Let's do the math real quick. Oh, well, I mean, no. So if 1 point is worth $2, and I just said that distance is 20, well, we got to multiply that by 20, right? There you go. That distance is $40 per contract. Now, maybe you're thinking, what? $40 for that? Okay, this is where the prop firms come into play. And let's just say we'll do bare minimum. Let's say you go with the 25 purchasing power. So right here on that account with the 25,000 purchasing power, of those MNQ contracts, you could get up to 30 of them. Up to 30 if you wanted. On the other end of the spectrum with the 150,000 purchasing power, you could get up to 150 of them. But again, we won't. We'll just stick with the 30 for now because that's the kind of the bare minimum situation. Like, what's the bare minimum you could get? Well, it would be up to 30 if you really wanted to. And just to keep things in perspective here, the 25 that would what would require? Well, do you have $105? If so, then you could be doing all this that I'm illustrating right now. So all right, we know that one contract with that distance was worth $40. We know that you could get up to 30. So then what do I need to do now with this number right here? Mainly for David and for Michael. But anybody else can chime in too that has maybe been intimidated by futures. So we know that for one contract, that distance that I showed was $40. So now what do I need to do? If I say we had 30 contracts, what do I need to do with this number here? So again, the $40 was based on one contract. But now I'm saying we have 30 of those based off of what you could get. So what would you do with that 40 that we're looking at? Hey, Rob, you got to do that anyways. Because what you think they're just going to send you money without being able to report it as like taxes and expense? Like, what are you talking about? That you're going to have to do that anywhere. Let me put it this way. If you're with a prop firm, a rub, and they're not asking you, they're not getting tax information from you, I'd run the other way. Are you saying you want to start to take money without having the forms to report it? Poor logic there, A-Rub. Poor logic. Yes, the forms they're having you sign are for your protection and for those, for mainly your tax reporting. Oh, give me a break. That was totally easy. Okay, David, David, are you like multitasking right now? No, you do not have to do all 30. So yes, you would multiply this number by 30 times 30. So right there, that could have been a $1,200 gain. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all 30. I'm just saying that is the scale. That is how the math works. So you now understand futures. There you go. All you got to ask is what is 1 point worth? And then ask yourself, if I'm going for, let's just say for an example, I want to make 30 points on this trade. Well, you'll be able to calculate your profit because if you've got, let's just say, one contract and you know that, each point is worth 2 and you're wanting to go for 30 points. So there you go. You'd be going for $60 on that trade. If you look at that number and say, $60 for a trade, what? Okay, fine. Then if you have 15 contracts, then you multiply that by 15. And there you go. That could be a $900 trade. Okay, I can tell, David. I can tell you're not totally engaged here, which is fine. So there you go. You now know how to trade futures. So for anybody here that was all hesitant, I don't want to learn to trade futures. Step 1, do you already use charts? If yes, then boom, you're 97% of the way there. The other 3% is just very basic math that we just went over. That's easy, totally. That's easy, different, totally that. Yeah, can you try again with that statement, Michael? That's easy, different, thinking that stock. And then you said totally. Yeah, well, let's try that one again. If MNQ goes against you 10 points, you would be down $20 on one contract. Correct, Miguel. Yep. So please, please, please do not hold yourself back from being able to day trade as much as you want every single day with better risk protection with prop firms and all that, because I get it. I understand the logic. I use it quite a bit myself. I don't want to have to learn futures. And then, it's like, okay, wait, that's the power of charts. If you know how to use charts already, whether you're day trading a crypto or day trading an option or whatever, the only difference in your vocabulary is now I'm using a chart to day trade futures. And then you understand that math, and there you go. How many points, or, from a risk perspective, if you have, one contract and you're risking 20 points, well, your risk is what, $40, right? On the MNQ, because if 1 point is worth $2, so there's $2, and then we're risking 20 points. So what is our risk? Well, 20 points. We got to multiply that by 20. So there you go. You can do your risk. Boom, that fast. How many points am I risking? As long as you know what 1 point is worth, then you can do, it's so easy to do mental math in futures because it's just that rigid. It's totally different thinking and trading stocks than regulars. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, are you talking about, I think what you mean is investing. I think what you're actually trying to say is it's totally different thinking in trading stocks than investing in stocks. I think that's what you probably mean. Because no, I would disagree. It's not different thinking. Because a bull flag in a stock is a bull flag in the future, which is a bull flag in a crypto. A bull flag is a bull flag, no matter where it's occurring. But yeah, okay, yes, it is different. There is different thinking for sure if you're looking to get in the world of day trading versus investing. That's why I break things into categories. So if you want to get into the markets, my follow-up question is, okay, like what category? Are you looking to get in the markets for investing, for day trading, for swing trading? All three, 2 of the 3? I'm in 2 of the 3. I day trade and I also invest. But to have a productive conversation, you've got to define what category of what category are you in. But yes, there is different thinking between the three categories. There's a lot of overlap. Don't get me wrong, but there are some points, especially when you're looking at investing versus day trading. Yeah, that's a much different mindset. So good questions. Hopefully that helps. A little bit of both, Raider. A little bit of both. All right. Very good. Let me scroll up, make sure I didn't necessarily miss anybody's requests or comments. Arab, I guarantee you'll change your attitude on that once you get to pro and you get to the daily payouts where you can request money every single day in whatever amount you make. I guarantee you'll be like, yeah, it was worth it. Not to mention you have to do it one time. So Arab, all I can say is suck it up, Buttercup. Stop being so high maintenance. Yeah. That's why I tell Dan, like, sometimes I get really like, I can't remember. I don't even remember the guy's name. But I was just like, this one guy, like, I was coming down on him. And my wife even, she's like, Clay, you got to relax. And it's like, oh, fair enough. But like, to Dan's point, like, if I start to get a little animated towards you, because like, you're not, it's like, because I see myself in you. Like, I was king moron. I was moron for many years, just in regards to futures. Now, I'm a little bit easier on myself when it comes to the prop firms, because I don't think I was crazy when I first started hearing about prop firms a few years ago to be like, nah, that sounds a little sketchy. But to other people's point, they're like, okay, Clay, even if it's sketchy, I'm going to get scammed out of like $100. I'll be okay. But after those few years came by, it's just like, okay, yeah. So don't be like me. Don't be a stubborn donkey for as long as I was. That's why I get upset at people, because I'm like, oh, you're so going to regret this, just like I regretted waiting for so long. So am I the only one seeing the Trado Vape? I doubt it. I see that quite a bit. Let me pull up my platform real quick. Yep. No, you're not alone. There it is right there. But that's pretty typical. How many years have you been trading for? I got into trading back, well, I was going to say I got into trading back in college, 2005, 6. But that wasn't trading. That was me being a penny stock investor. So I don't know. Trading, I don't know when I started to transition to that. A long time ago. I'll put it that way. I'm on the other side of the coin. I never traded stocks, only CFDs. Had futures. Yikes, Raider, that's scary. Clay, you'll be a good sports coach. I don't know. I'd have to be with the older kids, I'd have to probably be like teenagers, or maybe like middle school. I think I'd probably make young kids cry. I can get a little too animated sometimes. Mammon, hello. Now futures and day trading and investing. Well, Michael, I'm just telling you, like, it's not a big deal. The only difference is, you're, like I said, you're just, instead of looking at the VWAP and all this sort of stuff on a stock chart, you're just looking at it on a futures chart. Oh, and then the other big thing that is just a very big argument. Sam was like, hey, how do you trade in this environment with tweets and stuff like that? And yes, at the primitive, well, that's why you got to be using stops. But also, to be fair, in this market, there can be some massive spikes where stops, you get hit with slippage and stuff like that. So there's still the potential that you could get punched in the face pretty hard. So it's really just a question of how hard do you want to get hit. And that's where the prop firms come into play. Because if you are using your own money and you get caught with one of these Trump tweets and you get, boom, a bunch of slippage, then just for example's sake, let's just say you're in a situation. So the situation is this. You're behaving, Trump tweets something, markets go crazy, you have a stop. But again, because the markets are so crazy and these moves are so crazy, you get a bunch of slippage and you end up losing $2,000. So if you're using your own money in that situation, you just lost $2,000 out of your pocket. If you're in the context of a prop firm, this is where the one argument comes from, the added risk control. You are protecting your own money. How are you protecting your own money against that situation where there's just a crazy spike and all that? Well, you're protecting your own money because with the prop firm, your risk is actually only what you put into the account. So if you're on the 50K purchasing power, your risk is in all actuality $119. Because yes, if that spike, boom, $2,000, yeah, you lost $2,000, which in the prop firm world means you failed the test, you've lost your pro account, whatever stage you're in, but you're done. Your account, they're taking it away from you. Now, you can't always buy it back again, but for argument's sake, your account is done. But did it actually cost you $2,000 like it did if you had been using your own money? No, it only actually cost you $119 because that was the cost of the account. Now, very quickly, for some of you who are saying, wait a second, this sounds like a scam. How can this be a viable business model? They're only requiring $119 from you, yet they're going to let you lose $2,000 of their money. The test phase here, kind of the job interview phase, is all happening in a simulator. So there's not actually $2,000 of their money being lost or anything like that. Same issue here. I've seen some people get angry. Wait a second. So I'm going to make them $3,000 and then all I get is, hey, congratulations. Now you get a pro account. No, because again, there's not any money actually being lost or made. So for those of you that with that observation, wait a second. How is this a viable business model? Good observation, but that is how. So again, how do you, to answer Sam's question, how do you best insulate yourself in a crazy, crazy time where Trump could tweet something at any moment, or there could be some news and create these massive spikes where even with a stop loss, you're getting smacked with slippage? Again, I would argue Pam's plant, because even in the worst case scenario, $2,000, worst case scenario, big spike with your own money, well, that's $2,000, if not more, out of your pocket. With a prop firm, it would be account gone, because as soon as it hits 2,000, they close the trade, it's over. But how much did it actually come out of your pocket? 119. So I would, from one of the, if a Trump tweet is going to cost me something, I would rather have it cost me 119 out of my pocket as opposed to $2,000, if not more. So Sam, that is, very good question. How do you deal with all this Trump stuff and the randomness of when he can tweet? Right there. I think by insulating yourself within a prop firm, that is a good way to do it. Good question. So to avoid losing accounts from fluctuations, are trading fewer contracts or only taking a few $100s? Prescott, you are proving my point. You are proving my point, and I mean that as a compliment to you, sir. Think about those questions you're asking. Those are questions that has your mind in the department of what? Risk control. These rules. I mean, again, brilliant messenger, brilliant thoughts, brilliant wonderings. So are you suggesting this or maybe something like that? Yes. You're literally proving the point. Absolutely, you should be considering those things. Absolutely. Now, I don't know to what extent and which one's going to work best for you, but you are now. You just put your mind. You're wondering. You're debating with yourself. You're curious about things within the risk control arena. Yes. That's the point. That's what these rules are going to force you to do. So I don't know exactly, Prescott. Like I said, that's where kind of some of the nuances come into play. But you are totally in the right arena now. You're totally thinking about the right things, IA Prescott. Very, very good questions. Very, very good kind of wondering points of curiosity on your part. So like I said, I can't tell you the exact thing, but I can emphatically tell you you are in the proper arena now. Because why? Well, because a prop firm is going to put those rules on you, and those rules are going to force you to start to think about risk control. And don't take my word for it. Go find a trader you trust and say, hey, what's the most important thing? And they're going to say risk control, risk management. It's all about how you manage risk. That's some good stuff there. Good stuff there. Another point for Pam's plan. Exactly. T-ball is a waste. Wait until they're at least 8 or 9. No, I think T-ball is good. I mean, when you see professionals hitting off a tee, there's some value in it. Tees are good. So I'll have to respectfully disagree that T-ball is a waste. So basically to trade is scalping, not swing trade or hold. Well, kind of, Paul. I would say to day trade is you're looking to buy and sell whatever you're buying in the same day. Within the same day, you're looking to buy and sell that thing. Some people are looking to buy and sell within seconds or with minutes. Other people have no problem buying and selling within a couple of hours. But in its most primitive way, I would say day trading is you're looking to buy and then sell something in the same day. Slippage is so much worth. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, slippage is even worth real money. But I don't really point out that stuff just because that's kind of convoluting the core point I'm trying to get across. But yes, accurately speaking, that is more than fair. That's not true. Slippage is only Raider. No, you would be definitely wrong. Have you not seen some of these spikes? Like some of these spikes, I mean, I don't care if you have a few contracts. Like they've been crazy. Again, what I just explained things, Raider, is what under the context of what Sam was asking about how do you deal with these Trump tweets and stuff like that. No, I'm in Central Time. Pro plus is the only count where I know that's all real time. But yeah, from the test into the pro is still basically a test phase. But once you prove yourself there, then they put you in the live accounts. But you can still make money in the pro phase. They are paying you out of their pocket at that point, which is why eventually they're like, hey, if you can prove yourself here, then we got to get you in the live market because we're not going to be able to afford to continue to pay you out of our pocket. What about the end of the day drawdown? Say you have 50K and you make 52K and make the next day, do you have to reset the account? Yes, JJ, exactly. So if you make if you do the 50K account and then you make 2,000, the next day you're not at 52,000. You're still at 50. You only have 2,000 to risk because it trails you. It's gonna keep you focused on risk management. So it's now eventually once you get to the pro accounts, that's how the math starts to work. You can start to what's called build buffer. But yeah, during the test phase, it's going to trail you, and that 2,000 is always going to be 2,000. That 1,500 is always going to be 1,500. Now, if you lose, let's say 500, then yes, the next day you might only have 1,000 to lose. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to disagree. I guess I don't know. Maybe you're thinking about it in a different way of how it would be a waste. So maybe that's how maybe potentially we're talking. We may agree. I guess I don't know how you're defining a waste, or more specifically what is making it a waste. Maybe the more accurate way of framing that. Hey, if you are enjoying, if you are entertained, if you've learned something, if maybe you've had your eyes opened in one way, shape, or form, hit that like button. It's been a while since I've done that. If we could get this up to 75, that'd be a good next phase. So yeah, if you are enjoying, hit that like button. Good conversation here. Hopefully people are kind of getting there, especially in the day trader category. I know as somebody that was a day trader of stocks and options for many, many years, I chose poorly, especially day trading options. Day trading options definitely makes the least amount of sense. Let's see. Let's make sure I didn't miss any requests or comments. Again, if you have a request for a stock, a option, a future, a crypto, let me know. If you have a question about just trading, I guess just life in general. I like to talk real estate. I like to talk personal finances. I like to talk, money management. I like to talk all sorts of things. So in starting prop firms, they're all simulations. Can I make money in this? Yeah, yes, yep. Now the first phase you got to prove yourself, right? So the test phase, your reward for making money and then managing risk the way they want you to manage it. Your reward is to go to the pro account. And then in each of these accounts, when you start to make money, you get to keep money. But you first got to prove that you can trade. You got to pass the test. After switching to day trading futures, how long did it take? Again, like I've been saying, Travis, you're building in some sort of premise. You're presupposing that to learn futures is some dramatic difference. So let me try to. So right now, Travis, whatever you're trading, what do you use? Are you using charts to make your decisions? You've been a wealth of knowledge through the years, Clay. Well, thank you, JJ. I'm glad I could offered a couple pennies of knowledge here or there. Can you talk about how to start with real estate? Probably not, because that's, well, I don't know. Have some money, and don't fall for the get started with $100 in real estate. No, don't. That's not going to work. So that the best way is to, well, actually, I guess I'd take that back. The best way to get started in real estate is start a dumpster business, or I should say a cleanout business. Don't use the dumpster rental. So in other words, just go interact, network with investors. Say, hey, I'll clean out your foreclosure. Hey, I'll flip out, or I'll close out your new, or I'll clean out your new property. I'll get all the clutter out. Landlords, hey, I know you just had an eviction. My services, I'll clean that place out for you. And that will be, you could easily charge a few $100 an hour to do that. So you figure out how many hours you think it'll take you. I don't know. Factor in a couple $100 an hour. Factor in, obviously, your dumpster rental cost. And then give them that price. And many people, myself included, will gladly pay it. Because there does reach a point in life where it's like, yeah, my time's worth more than that. So I'm not saying you stay doing that the rest of your career. I'm just saying, how do you get started per your premise? That's how I do it. Again, gotta disagree there, Raider for life. To be fair to you, maybe you typed that up as I was giving my explanation. But that is how I would start. And guess what? As you're doing that, and I'm operating the assumption you're going to do a good job, you're building those relationships. You're getting to know the flippers. You're getting to know the landlords. You're getting to know the private money lenders. And then once you start to get to know that, then yeah, maybe a private money lender is willing to play ball with you a little bit. So that's how I would get my foot in the door. From the approach of not having any money. But if there's like some sort of like, I'm going to show you how to do it with $10 out of your pocket. No. It's going to be blood, sweat, and tears. Start as a laborer, offer to clean out places. Okay, yeah, Travis says yes. So what is one of your favorite patterns, Travis? Like, what's your go-to? What is the setup that you enjoy? Thoughts on that's weird. Yeah, I talked about SCHD earlier. I do have that. I have that in my invest in portfolio. Correct. Yes, I do agree with that, Raider. Yeah. So to get started in real estate, you're to Raider's point, I agree. You're not going to just like, I'm a house flipper all of a sudden. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not, because you don't have any money. Well, I'm going to use a private lender. No, you're not. No private lender, and I am a private lender. Not that I necessarily speak for all private lenders, but I can say that private lenders are not going to just lend you money. Well, I guess I take that back. But like these deals don't exist. But if they did, I would totally do it. If like you were somehow just a new, if you were just like brand new, and again, this is totally hypothetical because it would never happen. But if you're like, listen, Clay, I just got this house for $100K. Right now, without doing a single thing to it, it's worth $350K. So can I got it under contract for 100. I'm going to put 100K into it. And then I'll have, and I'll be paying you interest this whole time. And then my profit on the deal will be 150K. Right. So I would do that deal because as a beginner, they're going to get wrecked. And I'm going to have to take back the house, which is why private lending is great, because my loan is secured by the asset itself. So, and let's just say they've done all the legwork to find this deal anyways. But I don't know. Maybe they get like 50K into it. So they've improved it a little bit. So they're 150K into it. So then whatever, the wheels fall off the bus. I take the house back. I now have a house back that I've technically paid 150K for, but it's probably worth a little bit more since I've improved it a little bit. So let's just call it maybe now worth 375. So then I'll just take the house. I'll go throw it on the market for, I don't know, let's just call it 350 for a quick sale, and boom, I just made 200K. Okay. So I do take it back that I could see a private money lender giving you money as a beginner if you bring them a smoking hot deal, but you're not going to have a smoking hot deal as a beginner. So, but Oh, okay. So I guess I assumed your premise was I thought, Travis, you had no experience with futures, so you were just assuming like, well, how long did it take you to figure out futures and this and that? And my point to you was going to be, well, it didn't take anything to figure out per se because I've been using charts for years and years and years. So instead of using charts to day trade options and stocks, I was just now using charts to trade futures. Yeah, and I do. That always makes me want. That always makes me nervous. We're like, I play the opening range breakout. It's like, okay, well, I hope there's a little bit more nuance to it than that. Because if you think any sort of trading strategy is as easy as, well, let 15 minutes go by. Let me put the high. Let me put the low. And then when it comes up here, I'm just going to buy. And if it comes down here, I'm just going to short. I really wish it were that easy. So I'm not saying that that's not a bad premise to build from. But like, if you think that's the only thing you do, and you're going to have success as a trader, that's not going to happen. I think you also asked, did I blow up accounts? Yeah, I've blown up accounts. That's part of it. I'm really enjoying and learning a lot from this, and everyone contributing. I don't know what questions to ask, but... Well, I mean, really, Michael, I've told you what you need to know. You already use charts. You passed the math test, right, when I told you how to calculate profits and losses with futures and the way points work. So, I mean, there you go. There you go. You don't really need to ask any other questions. That's it. Location also matters. If buy a house in a dump, will be it possible to sell it more? No. I mean, I understand. Location matters, but actually not really. What you buy the house for is what matters. In real estate, you do not make money when you sell. You make money when you buy. Because I could go into the absolute worst case scenario, and if I see houses are selling for $100 and I can buy one for $100 or for $1, like, because it's like literally the worst location ever. Houses only sell for $100. But if I can buy one for $1, I'll buy that for $1, throw $85 on it, and now I'm actually offering a good deal, and I'm making, a good percent return. So no, at the core, location does not matter. What you buy, your calculations of how much it'll cost to fix it up, those matter the most. The best way to start in real estate is to buy a time machine. No, I totally disagree. Clean out people's houses. You can make a good hourly rate. You can start to stockpile cash. You can get to know people. You can prove that your work ethic. People will sign to work with you. I have better success scalp trading futures when the market first opens. Yeah. Well, everybody's going to have a different kind of time when they think the markets are best for their strategy. So that's totally fair. Totally fair. I said we did look at NQ already. Again, I'll keep my eye on the chat box. Real estate still works, especially in the United States where the population grows every year. Oh yeah. To be fair, I'm definitely only commenting on like the United States real estate market. I claim zero knowledge. I claim total ignorance on any other outside the USA markets. So. We already talked about that one. Yeah, what's the ES up to? So ES had a good past week here on the daily time frame. Has been doing a fantastic job of now honoring that 50-day simple moving average as support. What's the hardest learning curve you have to overcome as a learning curve? I will say this. The thing that makes learning the hardest is people get overwhelmed. And I understand, why would I ever pay for education? It's all for free on the internet. It's all for free on YouTube. Okay, that's fine. But that learning curve is going to get very sloppy and very costly because there's tons of information out there these days. Lots of it's actually pretty bad information. But even if you were somehow easy to, luck out and cherry pick all the good bits of information, if you learn about that good information out of order, you're just going to get confused and overwhelmed. And that is the pathway that I went through when I taught myself how to trade, which is why when I got into real estate investing, I was like, I'm never doing that again. Because I do understand people are going to be like, well, you're just saying all that, Clay, because you sell a program, you sell a course. So, of course, you're going to tell people to invest into education when you just so happen to sell education yourself. And I mean, that's a fair point, but the proof is in the pudding that I really do believe, because after teaching myself trading and before getting into real estate investing, so this is one of the first videos I did, I went down through a breakdown of everything I spent on my real estate investing education, and it was like just shy of $5,000. So I was like, nope, there's no way I'm going to teach myself real estate investing. No way, not after the experience I just went through with that. So yes, to answer your question, what's the hardest learning curve? I would say overcoming the desire, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to teach myself. Again, not impossible, not impossible. All I am saying is that there is a return on investment if you can learn in an orderly and structured way. First, we're going to learn about this because it makes most sense because of this, and that. And that's what I've learned over the years as I developed my program. Again, my program, I started back in 2013. Well, actually, earlier than that, before the program even started. But I won't convolute things. But I have listened to constructive criticism over the years. And my program, I know makes sense for people to learn. Because I know when I teach you about this first, and then I teach you about this, and then I teach you about this, your mind's going to be like, okay, yep, that makes sense. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense because I just learned about this, and this. So I would say that's the biggest learning thing is. But most people, again, they're not going to believe me. Nope, it's all for free on the internet. I'm not going to pay for a dime. That's fine. That's fine. You're still going to pay a whole lot. A whole lot. And with a lot of headaches, a lot of feelings of overwhelming. Well, I don't even know how people, honestly, I don't even know if I could teach myself now because there's so much information. I can very realistically see myself being totally overwhelmed. Because when I taught myself back in like 2005, 6, I mean, YouTube was around. I'm not saying that. But it is like nothing like it is now. That's true, Raider. That's true. My old boss flipped a house a couple times. He told me if I find a house that meets his requirements, he would pay me a finder's fee. Yep, yeah, that's called wholesaling. So he was basically wanting you to be a bird dog, is what they call it in real estate. But the thing is, in order to find stuff, you got to pour a lot of money into marketing. You got to be trying to find distressed sellers, stuff like that. But see, that's where things are reversed. You're spending money, you're investing into your marketing to distressed sellers and all that. Whereas if you do it my way, you're actually getting paid because you're offering a service. You're offering your service to the people with the money. So I'm trying to get familiar with how the MNQ moves, but I'm approaching the 1 month mark. Is the best strategy to just go with the trades? I'm not quite sure, Lance. I think there's a little bit more nuance to that. I wouldn't know without asking more questions and so on and so forth. All I can say is maybe, but like I said, that comes with the asterisk of I don't think I have really full context of things. Traveling back in time to 960, buying a house. Okay, fair enough, Drew. Fair enough, yes. Not necessarily, Drew. Because if you go back and if you step on a dandelion while you go and do that, so you're buying a house, I don't know. Are you a jerk to the person you buy the house from, and then all of a sudden that cascades through time, and then the house that you bought for $30K is now only worth $1,000? So actually, I disagree. You are presupposing that you don't mess up the future when you go back and do your action of buying the house. So incorrect, Drew. I disagree. I disagree with your premise that you don't mess up the future by going back to the past. I don't know. Maybe you step on and squish a dandelion, and you're like, right? You're a smart guy, Drew. You've probably heard of the butterfly effect. You are presuming that you don't initiate any kind of butterfly effect. So no, I disagree. Faulty premise on your part. Time machines are therefore not better than dumpsters. What aspects of the lessons make them most worth it? A good question. Structure. We're going to learn about this first and then that. I offer nothing magical. Nothing. Like if you're looking for some sort of magic pill from my program, you're not going to get it. What you're going to get is a flow and a sequence and an orderly structure. Not to mention it does come with lifetime membership to my community. There's a ton of really good traders. So sure, you get all the opportunity at networking with some really good traders. But setting that all aside, as far as the classes, structure and order, a sequence of learning that is going to kill the feelings of overwhelmingness and just make you feel more comfortable and confident to approach the markets. I do route work, so I drive town, and if I find boarded up houses and overgrown lawns, I don't need to spend money. Oh yeah. So that's good. That's good, because you're also being. I assume you're in a work truck, so it's not like you're spending your cash on gas. The company is doing that. So hey, no, that sounds like you're kind of making the system work for you there, Red Tiger. That's good stuff. Are we actually talking seriously? Yes, we are. Raider for Life. If you have not learned, which I've learned, because I don't know, I think Greater for Life, like you must be like listening as you do other things, because you've been here many times. But yesterday you just discovered I have 6 kids, which I don't know how you just discovered that. And now you apparently seem to just be discovering that sometimes we go down rabbit holes. So yes, we do talk about stuff like that, because that was an interesting rabbit hole. And I wanted to win that argument. So I had to think of a way. How could I win? How could I not concede that a time machine is better than a dumpster? That was the best I could do. I'm not saying it was a convincing argument, but I did at least want to make an argument. All right. Hey, can we get 2 more likes? Can we at least just push this up over 75? If you enjoyed the time travel to make money discussion, hit that like button. Hit that like button. I'm probably going to wrap things up here, unless there's any final requests or question. Yeah, requests or questions. I thought I repeated the word, but it's not. That was 2 separate words. Requests and questions. Yeah, thank you for the 2 that got us up to that 75 like mark. So yeah, any other questions on Pam's plant? Again, if you do want to get into Pam's plant, then the prop firm that I use and recommend, you can see it. I have it pinned in the chat box there. And if you want to support the channel, then you can use code CLAY. That'll get you the 30% off and then $0 activation fee. So yes, that's like I said, if you want to support the channel, that's a way for you to do that. If you'd like to support somebody else's channel that offers codes, by all means, go support who you would like. But if you want to support this one, that is a very easy way to do it. So the best ways to support are hit the like button on this live stream, subscribe to the channel, and then if you are convinced as a beginner, somebody that now does want to try Pam's plant, and you want to support the channel, then yeah, code CLAY as you sign up for Take Profit Trader. What do you feel is a better generational investment? Stock or real estate? If we're talking real world, then I'm just going to reject your premise, because that's a false dilemma. So I'm assuming you mean in like the real world. So because it's not an either or, I do both, and I think multiple streams of income is a good thing. So I'm gonna reject your question on the false dilemma fallacy, and push back and say I think both. Now maybe you're saying, well, if you only could do one. Again, false premise, because that's a hypothetical. I would do real estate, because you can play on real estate. Like right now, we bought land in Iowa, so this land also happens to contain some farmland. So not only is it preserving my wealth, it's paying me money, because the farmer pays me money, but it's also got woods, it's got a creek, it's got a lot of fun stuff that me and my kids can go play on. But you can't really play on a stock. Like I guess you could print out stock certificates and maybe make like paper airplanes out of them. But other than that, a stock is just kind of it's just there. But like if I was forced, I would go with real estate, specifically land, because you can play on that investment. But yes, in the real world, you don't have to do either or. I would say go with both, multiple streams of income. Thanks for the insight. Got to go earn my... Yeah, go for it, Emmy. Good chat. Depends on where the real estate is located. I disagree with where the location, because if there's like, let's just go with like the worst place anywhere, and where houses only sell for $10, but if I can buy a house for 10 cents, I'll pick up that house for 10 cents and I'll sell it for $9. I'll be offering people a good deal. If normal prices are 10 and I can sell something for $9 because I was able to buy it for whatever I just said, 10 cents, I'll do that all day long. Yeah, I think you can use stocks as collateral. But again, I'm talking about you can't play on stocks. Tell me how you play on stocks. The only thing I can think about is you print out the stock certificate and you turn into a paper airplane. Like, stocks don't have creeks running through them. Stocks don't have woods that you can go hunting in and play with your kids in and build tree houses and all that sort of stuff. Like, you can't do that on a stock. You can do that, though, on a piece of land. You can grow food on a piece of land. So that's just the point of distinction I'm trying to, create there, is if I was forced to only do one. Should I buy LLY while it is dipping? Well, I know nothing about. You should not, and here's why you should not. The mere fact that you asked me that tells me you have no idea what you're doing. So no, you should not. You should know. You should go learn how to build a strategy for yourself. Go how to manage risk versus reward. So no, you should not. You need to go. You have a lot more learning to do. If you were asking me a question such as that, you don't know what you're doing, and that's totally fine. We all start off in that spot not knowing what we're doing. So you have a lot more learning to do before you should go buy LLY. So there's my answer to that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call it good. Thank you all for being here. Again, if you enjoyed this Saturday session, make sure you hit that like button. That's a good way to communicate to me that you're enjoying these. Are there any futures better for trading? Michael, listen, man. Listen. I'm trying to be as nice as possible. Stop overthinking this. I've told you what you need to do. Start with MNQ. That's all you need to do. Just no more questions. MNQ. Once you prove yourself in MNQ, move to NQ. Maybe you never move to NQ because you just find a really good groove in MNQ. That's it. Stop trying to overwhelm yourself. I'm trying to, listen, I am an engineer by degree, but I'm no longer practicing. But I was a process engineer for Honeywell. I'm trying to make the process as efficient as possible. Stop with all these little side quests. MNQ. Oh, yeah. Fair enough then, Drew. I can see that then. All right, everybody. Good questions, but yeah, I'm going to call it good. So I appreciate it. And again, like I said, if you enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to support the channel and get started with Pam's Plant, use that link that you see on the screen or that's tagged in the chat box here at the top. Use code CLAY. That's a way to help support the channel, keep the live stream going. Because that is a way to, if I know that is profitable for me to take my time to do this, then I'll keep doing it. But there's got to be, while I do enjoy teaching and just kind of shooting the breeze, there's also got to be a financial component too. So just to speak very bluntly on that, this needs to remain profitable in order for me to make it worth my time. But for a way to make that happen, just use code CLAY. To speak very bluntly, business-like to you. So, all right, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend. I will be back Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern at the very latest. So for those of you that hung out, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you learned something. But everybody take care. And like I said, have a great rest of your weekend.